There are moments in life when words are not just sounds but keys, and this is one of those moments. You did not arrive here by accident. You did not click, listen, or pause your life by coincidence. God is intentional, precise, and deliberate. When God moves, nothing is random. When God speaks, nothing is wasted. When God chooses, nothing is mistaken. And today, God is announcing something over your life that defies logic, history, and expectation. You have lived long enough to see patterns repeat, cycles continue, struggles echo themselves year after year. But God is saying clearly and boldly that this next season will not follow the rules of your previous seasons. You must understand this truth deeply. God is not limited by what has already happened. God is not bound by your past failures, your missed opportunities, your delays, or your doubts. God does not need permission from your circumstances to act. God does not ask your environment whether it is possible. God creates possibilities where none exist. When God decides to do something new, the laws of limitation step aside. When God decides to favor someone, history becomes irrelevant. And when God decides to bless you in a way never done before, even your own mind will struggle to comprehend it. Many people believe God only works within familiar patterns. They think God repeats the same type of blessing, the same kind of breakthrough, the same level of favor. But God is not repetitive by nature. God is creative, expansive, and ever unfolding. Look at creation itself. No two fingerprints are the same. No two voices are identical. No two destinies are carbon copies. If God is so intentional with physical creation, how much more intentional is God with spiritual destiny? What God has designed for you cannot be copied, replaced, or transferred. It carries your name, your timing, and your unique calling. There are things God has placed inside you that even you have not fully discovered yet. Dreams that were planted before you had language to describe them. Strength that was deposited before you faced the battles that would require it. Endurance that was stored within you because God already knew what you would have to survive. You may think you are behind, but God says you are being prepared. You may think time has been lost, but God says time has been invested. You may think nothing has been happening, but God says everything has been aligning. Understand this: delay does not mean denial, and silence does not mean absence. God often does the deepest work in the quietest seasons. When you felt overlooked, God was observing. When you felt forgotten, God was forming. When you felt isolated, God was instructing. There are levels of blessing that cannot be released until character is shaped, perception is sharpened, and dependence is fully anchored in God alone. What is coming to you requires depth, and God never releases depth to shallow preparation. You have asked yourself many times why your journey looks different from others, why your process feels longer, why your battles seem heavier, why your victories appear delayed. The answer is simple but profound. What God is preparing for you cannot be handled by an unprepared vessel. What God is about to do has weight, influence, and impact. It will not only change your life, but it will alter the direction of others connected to you. That is why God has been careful with you. That is why God has been intentional with your timing. There are people who receive blessings and lose themselves. There are people who receive opportunities and forget God. There are people who receive abundance and lose humility. God refuses to let that be your story. God is shaping you to carry what others could not carry. God is training you to steward what others would have wasted. God is refining you so that when the doors open, you will walk through them with wisdom, gratitude, and reverence. What God is about to do will surprise even those who doubted you. But more than that, it will surprise you. You will look back and realize that the pain had purpose, the waiting had meaning, and the resistance was resistance because of the value of what you carried. Opposition is never random. Resistance is always a sign that something valuable is trying to move forward. No one fights what is insignificant. No one resists what carries no threat. The pressure you have felt is proof that your destiny carries weight. God is not responding to your perfection. God is responding to your persistence. You kept showing up even when you were tired. You kept believing even when answers were delayed. You kept praying even when results were invisible. You kept moving even when clarity was missing. That consistency has been recorded. That faithfulness has been seen. God does not overlook quiet endurance. God honors those who trust without needing constant reassurance. There are moments when God bypasses normal process, not because the process is wrong, but because God wants to reveal divine authority. There are times when God accelerates, multiplies, and elevates beyond human expectation. This is one of those times. God is about to compress years into moments, lessons into revelations, and effort into overflow. What took others decades will take you a fraction of the time, not because you are better, but because God is purposeful. Do not underestimate divine timing. When God says now, nothing can delay it. When God says move, nothing can block it. When God says release, nothing can withhold it. You are stepping into a moment where alignment replaces confusion, where clarity replaces uncertainty, and where provision replaces lack. Not because circumstances suddenly improved, but because God has spoken. There is a difference between wishing and believing. Wishing hopes something might happen. Believing knows something will happen. You are being called to move from hoping to knowing, not because you have evidence, but because you trust the nature of God. God has never failed. God has never abandoned. God has never broken a promise. History itself testifies to divine faithfulness. And your life will add another testimony to that record. What God is about to do will not look like your imagination. It will exceed it. You have dreamed within the limits of your exposure, your experience, NCEs, and your understanding. God dreams beyond those limits. God sees opportunities you cannot see, connections you cannot predict, and outcomes you cannot calculate. When God acts, it will feel sudden to you, but it has been planned for a long time. You must let go of the version of yourself that survived and step into the version of yourself that will thrive. Survival taught you resilience. Thriving will require trust. Survival made you cautious. Thriving will require boldness. God is inviting you to release old mindsets that were necessary for past seasons, but will restrict future ones. You cannot step into new territory with old thinking. There are relationships that will not go with you, not because they were bad, but because they were seasonal. God removes what cannot sustain where God is taking you. This is not loss, this is alignment. This is not punishment, this is protection. God knows who belongs in your next chapter and who was only meant for the previous one. Trust divine separation, trust divine redirection. What God is about to do will require you to see yourself differently. You can no longer speak as if you are small when God is enlarging you. You can no longer think as if you are limited when God is expanding you. You can no longer pray as if you are begging when God is positioning you. Your language must align with your destiny. Speak with expectation. Speak with humility. Speak with faith. There will be moments when fear tries to return. Fear always shows up when expansion begins. Fear is the mind's response to unfamiliar territory. Do not confuse fear with warning. Fear often appears when you are stepping into something significant. Courage is the absence of fear. It is obedience despite fear. God is with you in the unknown. God is ahead of you in the unfamiliar. Remember this. God does not reveal everything at once because growth requires trust. If you saw the full picture, you might rely on the vision instead of relying on God. Step by step, instruction by instruction, moment by moment, that is how divine guidance works. Obedience opens the next door. Faith unlocks the next instruction. There is a reason this message resonates with you. It is not emotional manipulation. It is spiritual recognition. Something inside you recognizes truth when it hears it. Something within you is responding because God is confirming what has already been whispered to your spirit. You have felt it before, in quiet moments, in restless nights, in sudden clarity. This is confirmation. God has never done before what is coming next in your life. That means there will be no manual, no comparison, no script to follow. You will have to stay close to God. You will have to listen carefully. You will have to move with humility and confidence at the same time. God will guide you, but you must remain attentive. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not disqualified. You are positioned. You are prepared. You are seen. You are chosen for something specific, something rare, something unprecedented. God does not waste preparation, and God does not tease destiny. What has been promised will be fulfilled. Even now, things are shifting behind the scenes. Conversations you are not part of. Decisions you are unaware of. Alignments you cannot see. God works beyond visibility. Do not measure progress only by what you can observe. Some of the most powerful movements happen invisibly before they manifest publicly. Stay grounded. Stay grateful. Stay obedient. Do not rush the process, but do not resist the movement. When God opens the door, walk through it. When God instructs, respond. When God stretches you, trust. You are stepping into a chapter that will redefine your understanding of possibility, provision, and purpose. And as this unfolds, remember where it came from. Not your effort alone, not your intelligence alone, not your strategy alone. This is God's doing. This is divine orchestration. This is favor meeting preparation. This is promise meeting timing. This is something God has never done before, unfolding uniquely, intentionally, powerfully, just for you. There will come a moment when what God has been preparing will begin to surface, and when it does, you must not shrink back out of familiarity with struggle. Many people are comfortable with hardship because it is familiar, but unfamiliar blessing can feel intimidating. God is calling you to become comfortable with expansion. Expansion will stretch your thinking, your routines, and even your identity. You will outgrow certain habits, certain conversations, and certain self-perceptions. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. God does not elevate you to keep you small on the inside. What God is releasing will demand maturity. Immaturity seeks applause. Maturity seeks purpose. Immaturity asks, why me? Maturity asks, how can I steward this well? God is not interested in momentary excitement. God is invested in lasting impact. What you are about to receive is not for display, it is for assignment. It carries responsibility, influence, and consequence. That is why God has been shaping your inner world before transforming your outer world. You may notice that your tolerance for distraction has decreased. Things that once entertained you now feel empty. Conversations that once satisfied you now feel shallow. This is not boredom, this is elevation. God is refining your appetite. You cannot hunger for depth and remain satisfied with surface level living. As your calling rises, so must your discipline. As your influence increases, so must your integrity. God never separates power from responsibility. There will be times when you feel the weight of what is coming before you fully see it. This weight is not pressure to fear, it is capacity being expanded. God increases capacity before releasing substance. You are being strengthened to carry joy without losing humility, success without losing reverence, and abundance without losing dependence. This balance is rare, and God trusts you with it. Understand this deeply. God is not responding to comparison. God is responding to obedience. Your journey does not need to look like anyone else's to be valid. God does not measure you against others. God measures you against purpose. When you stop trying to mirror another path, you make room to walk fully in your own. Comparison blurs vision, but obedience sharpens it. You will encounter moments where the next step requires faith without confirmation. This is intentional. If everything made sense, faith would be unnecessary. God, F10 asks for movement before explanation to build trust beyond logic. Do not wait for certainty to obey. Certainty often follows obedience, not the other way around. Move when God instructs, even if the path unfolds one step at a time. There will be voices that misunderstand your direction. Some will question your choices, your pace, and your priorities. Not everyone will recognize divine timing when they are accustomed to human schedules. You do not need universal approval to walk in alignment. You need discernment. God's guidance may isolate you temporarily, but it will position you permanently. As doors begin to open, guard your heart against pride and fear equally. Pride disconnects you from God. Fear keeps you from stepping fully into what God provides. Humility keeps you grounded, and courage keeps you moving. You can be confident without being arrogant and cautious without being paralyzed. God teaches balance through experience, not theory. You are entering a season where your prayers will shift. You will no longer ask only for relief. You will ask for refinement. You will no longer seek escape. You will seek excellence. You will no longer ask God to remove challenges. You will ask God to strengthen you to rise above them. This shift marks growth. This shift marks readiness. God is about to trust you with answers to prayers you once whispered quietly. But remember, answers bring accountability. When God responds, your response matters. Gratitude must become action. Blessing must become service. Increase must become impact. God blesses not just to improve your life, but to extend purpose through your life. There will be moments of awe when you realize that what once seemed impossible has become your reality. In those moments, remain teachable. Success does not mean you have arrived, it means you have been entrusted. Stay open to instruction. Stay sensitive to correction. God continues to guide those who remain attentive. You will discover that peace becomes your compass. When choices align with God, there will be an inner clarity, even if external circumstances are complex. Learn to value that peace. Not every opportunity is divine, even if it looks attractive. God's direction carries clarity, not confusion. Stillness can be as powerful as movement when guided by discernment. As your life shifts, your influence will quietly grow. People will observe how you handle pressure, how you speak in uncertainty, how you remain steady through change. You may not realize it, but your journey will inspire others to trust God more deeply. This influence is not loud, but it is lasting. There may be moments when the responsibility feels heavy. In those moments, return to God, not for escape, but for renewal. God is the source, not the destination alone. Stay connected, stay grounded. Strength flows from connection, not from self-reliance. You will be tempted to rush outcomes. Resist that urge. Speed without alignment creates instability. God's timing is not slow, it is precise. What arrives too early can collapse. What arrives on time stands firm. Trust the pace that God sets, even when anticipation grows. Your past no longer defines your ceiling. Mistakes do not disqualify destiny when humility and growth follow. God redeems, restores, and repurposes. What once caused shame can become wisdom. What once caused pain can become insight. Nothing energy surrendered to God remains wasted. As you move forward, simplify your focus. Complexity drains energy. Clarity multiplies impact. Know what matters. Protect what matters. Invest where God directs. Distraction is subtle, but purpose is focused. Learn to say no to good things, to say yes to the right things. You are not stepping into chaos. You are stepping into order, divine order. Things will begin to make sense in hindsight, even if they feel unclear now. Trust that God is arranging details beyond your awareness. Faith is trusting the arrangement before you see the pattern. This season will require you to listen more than you speak. Silence sharpens sensitivity. In stillness, guidance becomes clear. God often speaks quietly, not because the message is weak, but because attentiveness is required. Create space for listening. You will find that confidence grows as obedience accumulates. Each step taken in trust builds strength for the next. Faith is not a leap into darkness, it is a walk guided by assurance in God's nature. You are not walking alone. What God is doing through you will outlast temporary applause. It will create ripple effects beyond your immediate reach. Stay anchored in purpose, not popularity. Purpose sustains when attention fades. You have been prepared for this moment, even if you do not feel fully ready. Readiness is not the absence of uncertainty, it is the presence of trust. God equips those who are willing, not those who believe they are complete. Stand firm in this truth. What God has begun will be completed, not partially, not imperfectly, fully, faithfully, purposefully. You are stepping into a divine unfolding that will redefine your understanding of what is possible when trust meets obedience, when preparation meets timing, and when God's intention meets a willing heart. There will be a defining moment when you realize that God is not merely improving your circumstances, but reshaping your capacity to receive. Many people ask God for more while remaining the same inside. But God, in wisdom, changes the vessel before increasing the flow. You are being widened internally so that what God pours out will not overflow wastefully, but will be contained with wisdom and purpose. This is why your inner life has been under such careful attention. God builds depth before displaying greatness. You are entering a phase where discernment becomes more valuable than speed. Not every open door is meant to be entered immediately. God sometimes opens doors to test discernment, not urgency. Patience is not passivity, it is strength under control. When you wait on God, you are not falling behind, you are aligning ahead. What is meant for you cannot miss you when your steps are guided. There will be times when God allows discomfort not to harm you, but to reposition you. Comfort can quietly anchor you to places you were never meant to remain. Discomfort awakens movement. When God disturbs your comfort, it is often because your future requires a different posture. Do not resist what is pushing you forward. The unease you feel is not danger, it is transition. You will notice that your prayers are becoming more precise. Vague requests give way to intentional petitions. This clarity is a sign of growth. God responds to sincerity, not eloquence. Speak plainly, speak honestly. God values truth over performance. When your prayers are lined with purpose, responses accelerate. There is a sacred exchange happening beneath the surface. God is removing what weakens and reinforcing what strengthens. Old fears are losing authority. Old limitations are losing credibility. Old narratives are losing influence. You are no longer who you were when those labels were formed. Growth has rewritten your identity, and God affirms that new identity with action. At times, God will ask you to release control. Control feels safe, but it limits trust. Trust opens pathways that control never could. When you surrender outcomes, you gain clarity. When you surrender timing, you gain peace. God is not asking you to abandon responsibility, but to relinquish anxiety. Responsibility is yours. Results belong to God. You will encounter moments when the path ahead looks quiet. Do not mistake quiet for inactivity. Seeds grow silently before they break the surface. God often works underground before revealing anything above ground. Silence can be evidence of deep work. Honor the quiet seasons. They are shaping foundations that will support visible growth. There will be days when you feel both gratitude and gravity at the same time. Gratitude for how far you have come. gravity for the responsibility of where you are going. This balance keeps you grounded. Celebrate progress but remain teachable. Honor achievement but pursue excellence. God blesses those who remain humble in expansion. You may find that your sense of urgency is shifting. You are no longer driven by panic, but guided by purpose. Panic rushes. Purpose moves with intention. God's guidance does not shout, it steadies. When you feel steady, even in uncertainty, it is divide. NCE, that trust has taken root. There will be challenges that attempt to test your resolve. Do not interpret challenges as opposition to God's will. Often they are confirmation of it. Growth attracts resistance. Movement attracts attention. Stay focused. Do not waste energy proving yourself to those who do not understand your assignment. Let consistency speak. God is cultivating endurance within you. Endurance is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It is what carries you through long seasons without losing hope. Endurance transforms waiting into worship and effort into faith. Those who endure learn to trust God beyond emotion. As your confidence grows, guard your spirit against self-reliance. Confidence rooted in God produces peace. Confidence rooted in self produces strain. Return often to gratitude. Gratitude recalibrates perspective. It reminds you that everything you carry has been entrusted, not earned alone. You will begin to recognize patterns of divine timing, meetings that align unexpectedly, opportunities that emerge without striving, solutions that appear just when needed. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. God arranges details with precision. Trust that precision. Even when you do not see the full design, your voice will gain authority, not because it is louder, but because it is grounded. Authority flows from alignment. When your life matches your words, impact multiplies. Speak with integrity. Speak with compassion. Speak with conviction. Words spoken from alignment carry weight. There will be moments when you must choose courage over comfort. Comfort keeps you where you are. Courage moves you where you are called to be. God does not cower. CE, God invites. Each step forward is a response to invitation. Accept it with faith. You are learning that faith is not denying reality, it is trusting God within reality. Faith acknowledges challenges without surrendering hope. It sees obstacles without magnifying them above purpose. This balanced faith is resilient and grounded. God is not building a temporary story through you. What is unfolding has layers that extend beyond your lifetime. Seeds you plant now will grow in ways you may never fully witness. That is the nature of divine purpose. It is generational, not momentary. Remain faithful even when results are unseen. There will be seasons when rest becomes instruction. Rest is not retreat, it is renewal. God restores clarity in rest. Strength is replenished when striving ceases. Honor rest as part of obedience, not as absence of effort. As you continue, your sense of worth will detach from outcomes. You will know that value is not produced by success or failure, but by identity rooted in God. This freedom will protect you from extremes, neither inflated by praise nor crushed by criticism. You will realize that joy can coexist with responsibility. Peace can coexist with effort. Confidence can coexist with humility. These combinations are not contradictions, they are signs of maturity. God develops balance so that growth does not destabilize you. Remain vigilant in gratitude as blessings increase. Gratitude preserves perspective. It keeps abundance from becoming entitlement. It keeps provision from becoming expectation. Gratitude transforms receiving into stewardship. You are not stepping into confusion. You are stepping into clarity that unfolds gradually. Each layer revealed prepares you for the next. Trust the sequence. God never reveals more than what can be carried responsibly. As your journey continues, remember this unwavering truth: God is consistent. Human circumstances change. Emotions fluctuate. Seasons shift. But God remains faithful. Anchor your confidence there. Let that consistency steady you. This unfolding is not random. It is intentional. It is purposeful. It is divinely arranged. You are not chasing destiny. You are responding to it. Each step of obedience draws you deeper into alignment with what God has designed uniquely for you. And this alignment will continue to open doors, shape character, and reveal depth in ways that exceed expectation and expand your understanding of what it means to walk fully in trust, fully in purpose, and fully under the guidance of God. Now let this truth settle deeply within you. What God has orchestrated for your life cannot be undone by delay, denied by doubt, or destroyed by opposition. You are not standing at the edge of uncertainty. You are standing at the threshold of fulfillment. Every step you have taken, even the painful ones, has led you here. God has watched your endurance, honored your faith, and weighed your heart. What comes next is not a reward for perfection, but a response to trust. God is faithful to complete what has been intentionally prepared, and what unfolds from this point forward will carry divine order, uncommon clarity, and undeniable purpose. Walk forward without fear. Remain anchored in humility and stay attentive to God's guidance, because this chapter will reveal that what God promised was never delayed, only perfected in timing, shaped in wisdom, and released in power uniquely meant for you.